Welcome everyone to my next episode of not recommended equipment or do not buy equipment. In this case we've got Einhell Mitre Saw. This is TC-SM 2131 dual. I got it specifically for laminate floor laying as well as baseboard cutting. To speed up the work and to be able to make the 45 degrees cuts, which are quite difficult using a regular jigsaw, at least the one that I own. I don't have table saw, which probably would be better for this job, but I thought that Mitre Saw, and especially this one, would be sufficient, and I can still use it in future for other jobs. Now, it looks really cool, I would say, and that's one of the lessons I learned, that not everything that looks good works good. Let me just show you first how it looks, and then we'll talk about the disadvantages or what goes wrong with this specific brand that I will never buy again. Okay, so let me zoom on it. It really looks fancy. It comes with whole set of attachments, accessories that are sufficient for the job I needed it for. As you can see, this is a brushed motor. I like the fact that it has easy access to brushes, although you would change them very rarely, really. So for my needs, I will probably never do that. Well, maybe I'll do it once in far future. This is the information about the model. As I said, it's TC-SM 2131 dual. It's 1500 watts, which is strong enough. And it gives some other information. It is equipped with the laser, which for me is quite important, as I'm really a DIYer, so I don't have the feel that would allow me to cut without some help, in this case of the laser. So what is wrong with it? Well, it would be easier to say what's right with it, in fact, but let me start with some minor details. So let's have a look at the switch. Now, initially, and that's probably my fault because I'm a typical man and I forgot to, or I didn't want to read the manual too carefully, but this is a switch that I initially thought is for the Mitre Saw. So you connect it to the mains and you then switch it here to make sure it works. Now, there is no labeling here indicating what's that for, but it's for laser only. Now, that's a little bit scary because I thought it's for Mitre Saw, so at some point I had it switched on and I was playing with the adjustment of the blade. That's not a good idea. It at least should have some indication of what is the switch for. That's the first and minor thing, I would say. The second minor, well, not that minor, but still not the biggest problem with this Mitre Saw is the dust collecting solution. In this case, it's a simple bag, but I can tell you now that it makes no difference whatsoever. No difference. After cutting a lot of baseboards, there was barely any dust inside it, and everything around the place where I was cutting was covered with dust. At some point, I attached a vacuum cleaner to it. Now, the one that I had was not the industrial type that is designed for this type of jobs, but it made the situation much better, I have to say. It wasn't perfect, but it was much better. So I connected it directly to this connection here. I sealed it with some tape and it worked much better than this bug here, which is pointless. Okay, so you can imagine that that might be a problem in when you make jobs like this inside your house, but you know, you can live with it. Next thing is this, and again minor thing, is this clamp, which should hold whatever you're cutting flat on the base. Now I know that this is not only the case in Einhell's for Einhell's brand, but the amount of time that you have to spend on actually attaching it and then removing it is crazy. It should have some ratcheting mechanism, otherwise it just takes too much time to work. Yeah, so you can see me working on it to hold the level in place. Yeah. So now it holds it. It's not that good anyway. Okay, and then to undo it, you still have to work a little bit to remove it. Another thing is that it doesn't reach far enough, in my opinion. This arm is too short, so sometimes when I had a very short piece of wood to cut, I had to hold it with my hands, which is far from perfect. You can say, oh, you could have used another clamp, like the one that I showed you in the previous episodes, the Irwin one. Yeah, the problem is that this design here doesn't allow me, with the tools I've got, to hold it firmly to the base. So even with additional clamp, I would have to have a really specific one with really long jaws that would reach far in, deep inside to hold it in place. Another thing, which is a big thing, I would say, for anyone who uses this tool on more or less daily basis, is this. So this is a level, should be leveled at least. Look at that. Okay, so there is quite a lot of play here. So this part of the Mitre Saw is higher than the sides. Yeah, and I don't even mean these bits, which are too low anyway, but that should never happen. So it's really bad. There is a bit of play when you set the angles as well. So it engages in certain locations, but then in these locations you can move it side to side slightly. And this makes a difference, especially when you make a 45 degrees cuts and you need them to be very precise. So that's another thing. What else? Well, the laser that is really useful in my opinion. Okay, as a person that does it from time to time, that uses this equipment from time to time, and needs as much help as possible to make a cut or straight cut, I found it extremely useful. The only problem with it was that every single cut I made, this laser here was covered with dust, and every single time I had to clean it first before using it. So the position of this laser is rubbish, or the way that the dust is being created should be diverted somewhere else, not to cover the laser. And that slowed me down significantly. So a professional would never use this tool. They would chuck it in the bin after first use because it would slow them down, and they earn money by doing jobs quickly as well. So this made me furious. Now the worst thing probably that made me think that this tool is also dangerous to use was the fact that after making about, I don't know, 50, 60 cuts, the cover, this one here, so this cover didn't open. So I put it down for it to be open, and suddenly I heard a noise, like a saw cutting something that it shouldn't cut. And then I realized that this cover didn't go all the way down. It stuck in this position and started to be cut by the blade. Now, that was really dangerous. There was some reviews on Amazon that said that the cover completely shattered to pieces, and probably for the same reason. So I started to investigate what is the problem with it, and I looked inside this section where the blade cover is attached, and I was shocked. If you look underneath it, you will see that yes, it's held by this metal screw and it attached to this metal plate, but to hold it in a certain position, it is held by 3 little pins, 3 or 4, I don't remember exactly, I think 3, here, here and here, but they're made of plastic. So with all these vibrations, with all this movement, obviously there is some pressure put on it, and every time there is a pressure on plastic, obviously it will start deteriorating. At some point they started giving up, so rather than this cover going up, it stayed in place. So I lowered the blade, and it just stuck in closed position when I started cutting the blade itself. Now since then I sent it to Einhell for refunding, really. I didn't want it back, but they couldn't offer me that. So they replaced only this cover. They didn't even replace whole machine with a new one. They just changed this cover, attaching it exactly same way as the previous one. Now I think that's asking for a serious accident, and sooner or later someone will probably sue them for design fault that was not corrected. I think that's all that was rubbish. There were good things about it, like the fact that it slides smoothly. It provides you with all these angles, so you can adjust the base angle, you can adjust the blade angle. In general, it seems to be robust with few important exemptions. The trigger here works well. Oh, there is one more thing that I didn't like about it, but I guess this feature comes with more expensive equipment on Mitre Saws, is the lack of soft start. The problem is that when I connected here at home to cut the baseboard, from time to time it was tripping my fuses, because it doesn't have soft start. It puts all this 1500 watts power straight into the socket, and then from time to time fuses were tripping. Now soft start would sort it out. It wouldn't put so much current, or wouldn't draw so much current from this socket, and it would probably not trip. Yeah, so please do comment, let me know if you had similar equipment. After experience like this, I will definitely not buy Einhell tools anymore, because after this one I think they can be dangerous. And this one is dangerous in my opinion, and quality wise was a waste of money. Okay, if you have any comments, please comment, and as always, I wish you a great day. By the way, I'm not sure if someone noticed that before. Surely someone had to, but I recently was watching my analytics, geographical analytics, and I've noticed that the Czech Republic on YouTube is called Czechia for some reason. Maybe someone can explain it to me. I would appreciate it greatly. Well, I think it's a mistake, but maybe I'm wrong. Thanks.